Candle Story 1, The Silent Room. In 1997, Sarah and her family moved to an old house in rural England, which they had purchased at a bargain price because it had been abandoned for years. The house looked ordinary from the outside, but inside it was full of strange corners, the sounds of wood creaking underfoot, and unnaturally thick walls. On just the third night, Sarah heard faint whispers coming from the wall next to her bed. She thought she was imagining things. But each night, the whispers grew louder, until she could almost hear her name being slowly called. She told her parents, and they decided to investigate the wall. There, they discovered a small door hidden behind the wallpaper. Her father opened the door to find a very small, windowless room filled with dust. In the middle of it was a broken wooden chair, and the walls were covered with scratches as if someone had tried to get out. From that moment on, Sarah changed. She became more isolated, sleeping during the day and waking up at night, whispering words that no one could understand. When they brought in a cleric to cleanse the place, Sarah fell to the ground screaming in a strange language, saying, "She hasn't left yet. She's here." To this day, the house remains locked. No one dares to enter the silent room. The Mirror's Curse. In 2012, a Moroccan family inherited an antique mirror from their deceased grandmother. The mirror, decorated with a heavy brass frame, bore a 19th century European style. It was placed in the living room and reflected sunlight in a very strange way. On the first night, the mother noticed that the reflection in the mirror didn't quite match reality. She could see her son sitting on the couch even though he wasn't in the room. When she looked behind her, she couldn't find him. Days later, the child began talking to an invisible person, whom he called the White Man, and insisted that he lived inside the mirror. Anyone who tried to move it felt an unnatural weight, as if someone were holding onto it from the inside. Things escalated when the father woke up one night to find his face distorted in the mirror's reflection, even though it was actually normal. When he decided to break it, all the lights went out, and a terrifying scream was heard from inside the glass. A spiritual man was summoned, and after a long ritual, he said only one sentence: "This mirror does not belong to this world." Since then, the family buried the mirror in an unknown location, and vowed never to speak of it again. Glove Story 3, The Man in the Attic. In Tokyo in 2008, Lila, a university student, moved into a small apartment on the top floor of an old building. Everything seemed peaceful at first, but then she noticed something strange. Her food kept disappearing, and sometimes the cupboards opened by themselves, even though she lived alone. She thought it was just forgetfulness, until she began hearing soft footsteps on the ceiling, only at night. One night, as she was getting ready for bed, a piece of insulation fell from the vent in the ceiling. She used a chair to inspect the attic, and there she saw two eyes watching her. She screamed and immediately called the police. After a thorough search, they discovered a man who had been living in the attic for 2 months, without her knowing. He would sneak out at night to eat and use the bathroom, then hide again. What was even worse? The police found a small camera in her room, hidden inside a wall clock. The man had been watching her for weeks. Since that day, Lila has never lived alone again.